Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. A community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner. I'm Kimberly Baxley, filling in for James Baxley, who's out on assignment today. Tonight, we're going to talk about the men's games for the last week. We had two games. Wednesday against Chipola here at Gulf Coast. Ended up with Gulf Coast 54, Chipola 70. We had met with them two times before, once on February the 2nd at Chipola, and where we lost 76-80. And on January 17th, our first meetup with them was here at Gulf Coast, with the Commodores coming out ahead of 79-74. Both tough games. The overall standing for the men, as they finished up 16-12, with the conference finishing up at 5-7. The state coaches poll, they ended up ranked 9th. With the Region 8 men's basketball standings for the Panhandle Conference, Northwest and Chipola ended up being co-conference champs here, both with a record of 9-3 in the conference records. Now in the Central Conference, Santa Fe College and Eastern Florida State College both ended up in first and second places respectively. Well, it appears they may have ended up being a tie too, because they're both 11-3. And then in the Southern Conference, Indian River State College clinched the conference championship, and with Florida Southwestern coming in second. Now the two champions, or the two first and second place from each conference goes on to the state tournament, but there are also two at-large bids, and it would be our assumption that Tallahassee will get one of those, being they're in third place here in the Panhandle Conference, and Polk State with a record of 9-3 in their conference. If you look at the Southern Conference, all of the other teams in that conference all had losing records from that point. So it would be pretty safe to assume that Polk State and Tallahassee would probably be the two at-large teams that would be selected for that state tournament coming up. In the state coaches poll, Chipola ended up number 2. Indian River ended up first. Chipola 2, Northwest 3, Eastern Florida State 4th. 5th place was Florida Southwestern, Santa Fe 6th, Polk State, Tallahassee 8th, Gulf Coast 9th, and Hillsborough 10th. And these are last week's polls still, because the new rankings had not come in yet. For the national poll for the Region 8, Chipola was ranked 7, and Northwest is ranked 11, with Florida Southwestern at 17 and Pearl River at 18 nationally. Now the game against Chipola last Wednesday, where the Commodores came up short, Chipola had 3 players in double digits. Tomlin ended up with 22. I take that back, they had 4 in double digits. Tomlin with 22, Aubrey with 16, Fields with 12, and Walker with 10, where the Commodores only had 2 players in double digits, being Taurus Watson with 12 and Kyle Murphy with 10. It was just a tough battle for such an important game. As far as free throw shooting for that game, the Commodores were 11 of 18, where Chipola was 24 of 32. Turnovers were a problem for the Commodores that night, with 21 turnovers versus 15 turnovers for Chipola. Then Saturday, we ended up over in Tallahassee at the Eagle Dome and came up short in a tough battle that went into overtime. They ended at 72 in regulation and went into overtime, where the Commodores came out short 77-85. the Commodores had started off with a deficit in the first half of 34-47, but in the second half they came out fighting and made up the difference to end in a tie with 72 that took us into overtime. But in overtime, the Eagles just overtook us with 13 points versus 5 points. Free throw shooting was much better in this game. The Commodores were 22 of 28, where Tallahassee was 20 of 29. But the turnovers, once again, were an issue. Tallahassee only had 12 turnovers, where the Commodores had 22 turnovers for that game. And so it was a tough way for the men to wind up their season there, but what a great progress that those young men made throughout the season as they've just continued to progress. And the Panhandle Conference is such a difficult conference to play that any given night they could be a national championship game with any of these teams, because they're just so strong, and this is just a really strong conference to be in. So that's how the men wrapped up for this season, and we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back and speak with the women's head coach, Coach Rory Kuhn, when we come back.
Programming on 90.7 WKGC and the Commodore Sports Network is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City that features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and more. A community connected at the water's edge, Sweet Bay. More information about Sweet Bay online at sweetbayfl.com or 844-35-SWEET.
Welcome back, Commodore fans. We're here to talk about the Lady Commodore basketball. Here with me today is Coach Rory Kuhn. Welcome, Coach.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good.
All right.
We've had an eventful week here with two games that were really important games for the Lady Commodores.
We sure did. Yeah, it's been a pretty eventful week, and I'm glad they ended with 2 W's, so that was good.
That was a great way to finish off. So we ended up overall 18-9, 7-5 in the conference.
Yep.
Ranked third in the coaches poll for last week, and then in the NJCAA national poll, we're receiving votes. Now, the new polls aren't out yet, so we're still waiting to see where those standings are. Let's talk about our game against Chipola last Wednesday. That was here at home, and we ended up coming out victorious there, 54-42. But a lot of times these games that we've played throughout the season, the final scores don't tell the whole story, or even the rankings. Like you look at Tallahassee, who didn't win a conference game all year, but that doesn't mean that they're not a tough team, because they've given us all we wanted all year long.
Yeah, exactly.
So with Chipola, we had Morgan ended up with 20 points and Amani with 11 points that game. But the battle that we had against Chipola was McLaughlin for them.
Yeah, she's been tough for them all year. And, she's kind of like their engine, little spark plug that gets them going. But overall, like as a team, I think our identity that game was our defense. And our defense really, while McLaughlin, I think, was their only double-digit scorer, maybe.
Yes.
They might have had one other, maybe, but it was just McLaughlin. Yeah. Well, she was the only one that got in double figures. I would take that any day of the week. And I think, Ava Miller had a big game, and she had not so much on the point side, but she had 10 rebounds and 3 blocks, and really was a good force inside for us. And then when Morgan does what she normally does with her 20, and Amani can chip in with 11, and Abby can knock down a 3 or 2, it always helps. So, it was a great team effort. I mean, after the first quarter when they only had 6 points and we held them to 16 at the half, I said, okay, we're playing some pretty good defense today and we're locked in. And, the girls really wanted that one. They knew it was important, and they really, followed the game plan, like I said, and, they did what they were supposed to do, and, they took care of business. But that was a great team win. I was extremely pleased after that one.
We had met with them the first time here at home on January the 17th, where we won 76-67. And then on February the 2nd, we were up at Chipola and came up a little short that night, 51-63. And that's a hard place to play and get a win there. But I noticed that when we played at Chipola that night, Chipola likes to play a lot of full court press.
Yeah.
And as soon as the Commodores started that, they didn't quite know how to handle that, and that kind of stopped some of the turnovers that they were causing for us. And I think as the Commodores picked up their defense, Chipola wasn't sure how to handle that and make up the difference there.
I think we picked it up, and I think we did a good job of breaking their press too at the same time. So we got some good easy buckets out of that.
And for free throws that night, we were 8 of 13 versus 4 of 9. And some of these games, fouls become an issue. That one wasn't so bad, but turnovers for both teams. I had both teams with 18 turnovers, which if we can, normally Chipola's going to turn their teams over a lot more than 18.
Yeah.
And so that we were taking care of the ball there and making sure that was what needed getting that game, because that was a critical game for the Lady Commodores.
Always against Chipola, you got to take care of the ball. That's always a key.
And like I said, McLaughlin with 22 points that night.
Yeah.
That was, and she's normally a 15-point free throw or 15-point per game player, but a lot of their other players that normally have like 14. Wright Gaskins normally has 14 points. She only had 8.
Yeah.
So we had really shut down them on
Yeah.
with our strong defense that night. And that was great for the Lady Commodores.
Absolutely.
And then our reward for winning that one, we got to go to Tallahassee Saturday.
Last conference game on the road, always tough, no matter who you're playing.
And those always get risky there at the end of the season, because we tend to think, okay, this is the last one, and we'll get a little lax, and that wasn't the time to get lax at all.
Yeah, I was saying, hey, it's their sophomore night. They got nothing to lose. They got everything to play for. They're going to be pumped up, and they did. They played their best game probably of the year again, on their sophomore night. So, it's a good win. Any road win is a good road win, and any win is a good win, period. But I knew they would have a lot to play for, and they were going to try, to get their first win. But like I said, that team, if they're in any other conference in the country, they're winning games. It's just they're in the toughest and the best conference in the country. That just so happens that we're used to it.
We met with them first on January 15th at Tallahassee and won 72-60, close game.
Yep.
And then here on January the 29th, we beat them 73-63. And 10 points. That's a minute of ball play.
Yeah.
Things can change so quickly, but we came out victorious Saturday, 74-65. They have the Twins over there, which are domineering. But Sadeja Payne ended up with 13 points against us. They had 4. Well, Payne with 13, Guthrie with 12, and Guthrie came alive for them. That normally isn't an issue. So there were some surprises there. Anna, one of the twins, she's normally 13 points. She only had 11, and Paulina normally has 14 points, and we kept her to 9. So that was good there. But for the Lady Commodores, Morgan had 19 points, followed by Cracknell and Downs, both with 13 apiece.
Yeah.
They stepped up, and we're facing a bit of a deficit with not having Boyd right now.
I know, but Boyd would help. I wouldn't mind having her back and taking her 15 a game in conference and 12 overall. That would help out quite a bit. So the way everybody's kind of stepped up, without having her around and getting used to winning games without her. I've been pleased. It's never easy when you arguably your best player and kind of heart and soul captain of the team is out. And to her credit, she's been on the bench. I know the Chipola game, she was up clapping, coach, and I call her Coach Boyd when she's on the bench now. When she plays, I can call her Naya. But she's been great. But then the rest of the girls have adjusted, and I think we're just getting a little more comfortable and getting better and better.
And that's good that they can make that adjustment, because a lot of teams they can't make that adjustment when one player goes down to make up that big of a point deficit when these games are just so critical. But we came out on fire against Tallahassee, 24-10 in the first period, and then they chipped away at our lead a little bit there in the second quarter with 24-19 points for the Commodores. But we were able to hold on to that and make a strong showing there to finish up the regular season. Now, that being said, that put us in third place in the conference.
A tie for second, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yes, yes. I'm sorry. We're switching
tied,
from men to the women.
Yeah.
So
tied
Northwest came out clear winners for the conference championship.
Yeah.
But now Chipola and us both ended up 7-5 in conference.
Yeah.
Even though we beat them head to head.
We beat them head to head, 2 out of 3. Yeah.
But that is going to force a playoff game to make sure that we know exactly who's in second place, and that will take place this Tuesday at 5:30 at Northwest Florida at the arena.
That's it.
They're a neutral site, great place to play.
Yeah.
Come on out and cheer the Commodores on. I'm not sure when we'll get this broadcast.
Yeah, just come on down the road. We could use you.
But in the conference, either way, the odds of both of us going to the state tournament are great.
Yeah.
Because, like we'd said before, 2 from each conference goes, and then there's 2 at large. And for the Central Conference, Eastern Florida State College, always a great program, and Daytona State I'm not sure if they have finished playing. These are.
Yeah, they might have 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, they might have 1 or 2,
left.
but where their standings are, it's not going to change the outcome of that.
They're locked in there, that second seed there for their conference.
But the rest of the teams right now in their conference have losing records.
Right.
So you would think, well, maybe not. Who would they take there?
Yeah.
And in the Southern Conference, Florida Southwestern, once again, another great program, and Indian River, they are finished.
Yeah.
And so that's their first and second. But then the other 2 teams in that conference are 3-6 and 0-8. And so you wouldn't think there wouldn't be a pull from there for those at-large bids, but you would think whoever between us and Chipola, one of those definitely should be.
It would be very hard, I think, either way, whether we lose or Chipola loses, to not put the third Panhandle team in that conference, because in the state tournament, just because the strength of schedule that we play is unbelievable, and not just in conference, out of conference. Like, we had the hardest schedule in the country. And Chipola, played in some of the tournaments with us, playing against those strong strength of schedules as well. So, we both have really good resumes, and, are deserving to be going to the state tournament.
So who would the question is, who would that other at-large berth go to? That would be a tough decision. Is there a committee that makes those choices, or is there mathematical figures?
There's apparently a committee. I don't know too much about it, or who's on it, or what the criteria is. But what I've been told is, strength of schedule is factored in, quality wins, quality losses, and obviously I think the strength of the conference overall and the state poll, probably will play some factor in that. But, in my opinion, us and Chipola, either way, should be going.
And that's the week following.
That's the week following. State tournament is the 2nd to the 5th over there, still in Northwest Florida at the arena.
Yeah, that's much nicer to just have to go down the road just a little ways than.
I remember you used to have to drive down to Ocala. I said, oof, I'll take an hour down the road down here.
Years we were up at Chipola in Marietta for years, and then Central Florida got the bid to do it. I think they just did one round and decided that wasn't for them. Right. So we're grateful that Northwest has it.
Absolutely.
And we'll gladly go. Now, this is last week's state coaches poll. Had Northwest in first, Chipola second, Gulf Coast third, Eastern Florida State fourth, Florida Southwestern fifth, Pensacola sixth, Indian River seventh, Daytona State eighth, Santa Fe ninth, and Hillsborough 10th. Now, let's talk about Pensacola there for a while. Pensacola had a pretty tough, we had some tough games against Pensacola this year, and they're in fourth place. They're ended up 6-6 in the conference here. I wouldn't think they would pull 2 of those at-large.
Well, there's a rule actually that I know, and I had to find out that 2 at-large bids both can't come from the same conference. So
and that's tough, especially in as tough of a conference as we have here. That Pensacola may be the stronger team in the state of those at large, but those rules are to keep from total domination from the that rule is probably written for the Panhandle Conference.
It's definitely written, and it's unfortunate it is, but unfortunately that's what it is, because Pensacola could easily too go to the state tournament and play and win games. Like you said, when you made the argument of the other conferences, you look at their third place teams, they all have losing records.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the nature of the beast of the Panhandle Conference and why it's so hard and so tough.
And those other two conferences, respectfully speaking, are not as strong competition-wise.
Historically, it's usually been like that, and just kind of the way it's always been.
Now in the national rankings, Northwest Florida is ranked 6th, Chipola is 12th, Eastern Florida State 16, and Florida Southwestern 17, and Pensacola 24, with Gulf Coast receiving votes. But now this is a week old. Yeah. And so we're waiting for that new poll to come out to see where those rankings are. And
yeah, so am I. I mean, we've beaten Florida Southwestern, we've beaten Eastern Florida, we've beaten Chipola twice, and we've beaten Northwest Florida, and we're not ranked. So go figure.
And Pensacola's just sitting out there, still nationally ranked.
Yeah, and Pensacola is still ranked. So go figure. We'll see. I would imagine that would change quite a bit here with this last poll going in. So we'll see, and if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We're still going to play the way we play, and prepare the way we prepare, and we'll just go about our business. That's all we can do.
Okay, our last home game we had sophomore night.
Yes, we did.
So let's talk about some of those sophomores and where they're at and where they're going, and who do we have as sophomores?
So we have Morgan Robinson Wagyu. She was our obviously the sophomore everybody probably knows because she averages 20 points a game.
Right.
So she was there with her parents, and she's going to have quite a bit of options. I think at this point she's still the 3rd or 4th leading scorer in the country, averaging the most points in that category. So obviously a lot of Division I schools giving her some attention. Some mid-major programs, some high-major Power 5 programs have been calling me. So she's going to have plenty of options. And
now where did she come from?
She came from Auburn. So
okay.
She played at Auburn, and now, she's going to have her pick of whatever school she wants to go to after this. So, I mean,
and that's a good thing about coming to a 2-year college.
Yeah.
It gives them the playing time and the time to get stronger and better. Sometimes they come for academics, to boost up their academics before they move on. But those students that come out of these 2-year programs, they're going to get more playing time than if they went straight to a university and sat the bench for 2 years. And so I think that's a great resource for these young men or young women.
She made a great decision. She used this as a basketball decision, wasn't academic, anything like that, because she's a really good student. But she played, very minimally at Auburn, not too much. And, when I talked to her and I called her in the recruiting process, I said, don't you want to play? And I'm not talking about just putting on a uniform and sitting on a bench, play. I said, you can come here, play, and, then it's all on you, what you do, and how you get recruited. And to her credit, she came in, played a lot, and averaged 20 points a game, and now she could probably go to any school she wants to in the country. So, so she used it for a really good, positive way for her, so it helped her out a ton. And, it's been great. We've been loving to have her here. I definitely do, right? I like 20 points a game. But she used, the 2-year school, junior college, Gulf Coast State, for the right reasons, and it's going to help her career tremendously. So.
Okay, who else do we have?
And we got Moosha Rafa Hassan. Moosha is a sophomore and, our 6'4" center.
She's the happiest girl I've seen.
Happiest girl, always has a smile for the most part, so she's going to be happy. But she'll have some options, too, of where she's going to want to go to school. So got a couple schools calling her, looking at her as well. So she's going to get her degree. And then we have Peyton Gray. So Peyton, she'll graduate, too, in the spring here, and she has a couple options. I believe LIU Brooklyn was looking at her and a couple other schools. So she'll have some options too. They get their degree and get to, further their education and playing career somewhere else. So that's what it's all about.
I have to tell you, and this isn't nice of me. I will just say this up front. It was probably a month ago. I hadn't really paid attention or seen Peyton play much. And it's before a game, and girls are out there shooting, warming up, and every once in a while, she'll pass the ball to somebody to shoot, but I never saw her shoot.
Yeah.
And then she's over there checking her phone or going to get a drink on the sidelines. I'm thinking, what is she doing? She's get out there and get warmed up. And then you finally put her in the game. And I don't even remember which game it was. And next thing I know, she's blocking shots, she's shooting threes, she's shooting layups, and I'm thinking, okay, that's why Peyton's here.
Peyton in her purple sneakers, she nailed a couple threes. I think I was against Tallahassee. She hit 2 or 3 threes. She hit a couple against South Georgia Tech. Against St. Pete. But yeah, no, she's come along, and she can definitely shoot the three. She can stretch the floor. She's got good length. So she's been great to have on the team. Just, being a total team player, in all aspects. When she plays, even when she's not, she's great on the bench, giving energy, stuff like that. So, yeah.
But I'd seen her just so quiet and so unassuming, and then here she comes, and I thought, okay, now I see it.
That's Peyton, yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell me a little bit about I met your new player from Brazil.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Can you tell me her name?
Yeah.
I asked her name. She says just shorten it for Hi.
Just call her Hi. So her name is pronounced Hayani.
Hayani.
But it's spelt with an R. So I guess the H in Brazil Portuguese is silent or whatever it is. But just call her Hi. So she's here and she'll be with us for the next 2 years. But I think she'll be a pretty good player for us. From what I've seen with workouts, and stuff so far, I'm pretty happy with the type of player she's going to be for us.
And it's great that she's here now because her English is extremely limited.
Yeah.
But I said between my broken Spanish and her broken English, we managed to get names and introductions.
As I told her, I said, listen, your English is better than my Portuguese. So
absolutely.
And that's the whole point of this semester. She's going to get acclimated, feel more comfortable. And, she's a really good kid. She's really smart. She picks up on things. So, she's going to get, settled in and, be ready to go for the next 2 years for us, which will be a good thing for us. I think the Commodore fans will be happy with her on the court.
So we talked about Boyd and her injury earlier in the season. She won't be back for Tuesday's game.
She won't be back for Tuesday. Right around the time the state tournament starts is that 4 to 6 week, that window where if you have some meniscus damage, stuff like that you're tolerant based on pain to play. So Nai's been rehabbing, working out, trying to get going. So
because that's hard to sit out and then come back in right away. If we are expecting that 12 to 15 points from her right off the bat, that may not be
that's going to be tough.
Realistic. But at least she's healing. She's getting stronger and better. And
it's tolerance, based on her pain. And she's always been honest and lets me know, like, hey, I can go. No, I can't. And I never question, her if she wants to play. So if she can play, she'll play. And if she can't, we'll just keep doing what we've been doing without her for the last 7-8 games, whatever it's been.
So, have you started with recruiting yet for next year?
Well, the best part is, we got Hi here now.
Right.
Right. So, so she's going to be here, and then we only have, 3 other sophomores to replace. So, this team we got, I think we're doing okay, and I didn't start really recruiting till August, 2 weeks before school started. So
that's right. We weren't even sure we were going to have a team this year.
Yeah, I was talking to the president the other day after one of the games, and he was joking around with me, and he said, "Yeah, we're just going to let you start recruiting in August. That's it. Just put a team together."
If you can throw a team this good together from August, then we don't have any concerns with recruiting there.
So but Hayani being here is good, and then we can figure out the other 2 or 3 pieces. So I'm not really overly concerned about recruiting at this point. My phone will ring, people will call me, and I've gotten a couple kids on my radar right now that I'm looking at, but it's still so early.
With the eligibility situation due to COVID, and then not. I don't know whether to say gaining another year of eligibility or didn't have to use a year of eligibility last year. How has that affected players incoming or players that are moving on or recruiting in that aspect?
Yeah, not only the COVID year of being able to come back, and get an extra year, the transfer portal, which I don't know how much you know about that, but it's, all the Division I kids that leave. And now with the rules, they can go, if you're a one-time transfer, and play at another Division I institution right away. So the 2-year schools like us, junior college, where we're, you're used to getting some big-time players, now those kids can just go Division I. So that kind of hurts, the whole scope of junior college basketball. And then with the COVID year, it's just another extra wrinkle to throw in. So, say if we take, Ava Miller, right? It's just technically her freshman year, so she can come back next year.
Right.
So she could be a sophomore next year, but really, she could also go to another school next year, a Division I school. But, and then it all depends on, the kids that like playing for your coach, comfortability, things like that. Where do you actually fit in? Some kids can use that extra year just to continue to work on their game. And if say you have like a low major offer now, you come back, you work on your game, maybe you go to a better program next year, a mid-major program, and you boost, your stock up. So it's an interesting dynamic right now in junior college all around. and and it's a full combination of the COVID and the transfer portal. So yeah, it's definitely interesting times.
Even kids coming up from high school from the COVID time, some school systems throughout the country had shut down athletics.
Yeah.
And for almost that whole year, and didn't have any seasons. And so I imagine that made it tough for high school players and for college coaches trying to figure out what to do there.
And like to your point there with high school, as it trickles down, right?
Right.
Would I rather take a high school kid coming in or a kid that's already played a year of college basketball in this conference? I'm going to go with the kid who's already been in here.
Absolutely.
You know?
So it makes it a little bit harder for those high school kids to break through to move up during that. And hopefully we'll get through this COVID stuff and that won't have a trickle down effect in the years to come. All right, anything else you want to add, Coach?
Yeah, hopefully if you can, come out on Tuesday. We'll be over at the arena in Northwest Florida, 5:30 game, and then hopefully we get to that state tournament and see everybody there making some noise for us.
That's right. All right.
All right.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Coach.
You. All right.
I'm Kimberly Baxley, and for Coach Kuhn, join us Tuesday night for a game that'll tell us whether we know we're going. So we're being positive we're going.
We better be.
So come join us, Commodore fans. Thanks so much.